We're going to invite our next speakers to the stage. Again, put your hands together for Timo Boldt, founder of Gousto, Shaun, Pearce, Chief Product and Technology Officer, also Gousto, and Bamford, Chief Customer Officer for Bento Tech.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Ooh, I nearly fell down a crack, so I need to stay very still. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Bento Tech, we're delighted to be headline sponsoring this event once again. This is our second year that we're here. If you joined us last year for the keynote, welcome back. If this is your first year, thank you for joining us. We've got a fantastic day lined up ahead of us. We have got some amazing D2C brands joining us today. Throughout the day, there will be some great discussions going on, some fantastic thought leadership, and really some really great opportunities to network and learn from one another. For those of you who are in the room already doing subscriptions, we know one thing, and we talk to businesses all the time: subscriptions is hard. So we're only going to raise the bar and collectively learn together by sharing and innovating with one another. Talking about fantastic D2C brands, I am delighted to be sharing the stage with two people who I think are phenomenal leaders in this space, from one of the most successful D2C businesses in the UK. As Katie has said, I'll be joined today by Timo, CEO and founder of Gousto, and Shaun, who is the CPTO. Did I get that right, Shaun? I never get those letters in the right way, of Gousto. So we're going to be sharing some of the learnings from Gousto. So why around this venue, if you don't know, what is the relationship with Bento and Gousto? Why are our logos co-located? What's the story? Well, years ago when Gousto was founded, they had a problem. If you're in the recipe kit space, you know one thing: recipe boxes are hard, they're complex subscriptions, and you know what? They would have loved to have bought the technology that would enable them to scale. They couldn't, so Shaun built it. So in Gousto is a lot of proprietary technology that has been the enabler and the foundation from which Gousto has seen the amazing results that we all see and know a lot, especially if you are a Gousto subscriber. If you're not, have a word with Timo and ask for his friends and family discount. But you know, it's hard. But a little over 3.5 years ago, a decision was made: hey, we have this great technology. We're in spaces with these D2C leaders who are telling us, this is hard. What's the technology stack that you're using? So why don't we take some of this technology, productize it, and make it available for other D2C businesses in this space to be able to build their businesses and see the same success that Gousto's done? So that's Bento Tech. That's what we're here doing. We're taking part of Gousto's technology stack and taking it to market. And what are we going to be talking about today? I'm going to start with a little bit of scene set. I always like to zoom out and look at the what before the why before we look at the what. Then I'm going to be passing across to Timo. We've had some really exciting news in Gousto this year, and Timo's going to be sharing why this was the right timing and why Gousto expanded. Then a little bit more back to me to talk a little bit product. You're going to have to humor me. I am a salesperson. That's what I'm here to do. What exactly is the technology? Who are the businesses we're working with? If you're thinking today, why do we need to talk to Bento? I'll give a little bit of the flame for that. And then we're going to close out with Shaun sharing, we spun Bento out, and we boomeranged right back into the parent company. So how Gousto themselves are now using Bento to go even faster than they did before and innovate. So that's what we're going to be doing today. All right. How did we get here? We all know this. I don't need to sort of give you the ABC of what happened in the internet. Amazon, eBay, PayPal, boom. Around 2000s, we see an e-commerce market appear. I'm old enough to remember that, and people were saying, this won't take off, it's a fad. Consumers like bricks and mortar. They want to touch and feel things. They want to go into shops and try things on. Guess what? We were wrong. The e-commerce market was born, fundamentally changed the way consumers transact and interact with brands. And that evolution has continued ever since then. iPhone, digital subscriptions, and even innovation in the food space, a sector that's not typically known for innovating in. So around 2012, we start to see innovation in that segment. Now, we all know e-commerce is worth an absolute fortune, and it's a market that shows no signs of slowing. Let's zoom in. What a lot of brands are here today thinking about: D2C and physical subscription boxes. And so within e-commerce, there is another very distinct shift that has happened. And whichever data set you look at, this is one of the more conservative data sets. There are numbers that are much bigger than this. But the data shows us one thing: subscriptions is here to stay. It is set to grow. consumers want more than one-off transactions. They want relationships, they want experiences, they want it personalized, they want gifts, they want to be rewarded for their loyalty, and they want to be partnering and buying from brands that they feel some sort of connection to. So in an ever-increasing world where the noise is getting more, the technology is coming at us faster and faster, we all know about this, the waves are getting bigger, they're going to hit us harder, and they're going to come faster than ever before. So the job we as business leaders, and the job that I have when I go in and talk to businesses, is how do we arm you? What are the things that we need to be thinking about? AI, the next big hype, who knows? In 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, will I be leaving the doctor's surgery and going, to some kind of voice AI, do you know what? I've just been diagnosed with XYZ. My bloods say this. Send me the recipe box. And a Gousto box arrives, personalized for me with recipes that are there for my condition. How far away is that? I don't know. But our job is to build the foundations and put them in place. Because when this wave of opportunity comes, which one are you going to be? You're going to be wiping out, or are you going to be riding the wave of opportunity? And I think that's the question that we're all here to answer. And talking about the wave of opportunity, I'd love to introduce Timo to stage.
I founded Gousto 13 years ago. I worked in finance. I worked long hours. I didn't see the purpose myself. I quit my job, came from a very high salary to no salary, great motivation. And since day one, our focus has been on becoming the most loved way to eat dinner. Today we have 80 million Gousto dinners eaten across the UK. It's a 400 million revenue business. And our purpose since day one has been to build products that have a positive impact on people and the planet. And so at age 95, hopefully still working, my greatest privilege in life will be to have worked hopefully on stuff that has a positive impact. And the second biggest privilege is to work with people such as Daljit and Shaun. Shaun and I have a decade-long partnership, and so tremendously proud how far this team has come over 13 years. It's still day one. I still feel as energized as I was 13 years ago about the size of the opportunity. But we have come a long way together. I used to hand out flyers at train stations. Today we have 70 million pounds of marketing spend. We've got 200 plus people working in a customer team. Back in the days, I used to hand deliver boxes on the train to Oxford. We used to carve out the office space once a week to pack boxes until 5 a.m., 7 a.m. Hugely painful. Today we have £100 million innovation in the latest factory we launched, data science on top, technology. And so as a team, I feel enormously proud about the privilege to work with fantastic people. But I do want to talk about the customer for the next 7 minutes. I always feel like Gousto is a customer-led company. We're not a product company. We're not a marketing-led company. I fundamentally think you can win subscription by being marketing-led, but I think you can win in the first 5 years, and then from year 5 to 50, it's really, really hard, and you have to be customer-led. By customer-led, I really mean what's the signal you're getting from customers? How do you organize your entire team behind huge customer insight, and then constantly obsess about how you make the product better by an order of magnitude for customers so that you double the business. And so from my perspective, as every year for the last 13 years, the question is, what do you have to believe in to double the business again in a very customer-led way? And for me, this always starts with the flywheel. At the end of the day, the secret sauce of Gousto is really simple. The more customer satisfaction we have, the faster we grow. And so the God we pray to is retention. And its cousin NPS, and so very, very much focus on these two. Every time we make the product better, we see more growth. 75% of our growth is coming through organic channels, so referral and organic traffic. And so massive reliance on people actually rating and loving the product. What we found out over the last couple of years is that it's a non-linear relationship. And what I mean is that if you can move somebody on the NPS scale from a 5 to a 6, and the question is, how likely are you to refer a friend, or would you recommend a business? But if you can move somebody from a 5 to a 6, not much actually happens in terms of retention and referral rate. But if you can move somebody from an 8 to a 9, you start to see exponential growth in retention and referral rate. And so if you're not kind of plotting this inside, really take a look at this. It's a hugely powerful formula, which today allows us to triage capital and people across opportunity spaces. And so if my marketing team says, can we put £1 million into TikTok? We can challenge us to say, oh, if I put £1 million into, I'm making this up, better spring onions, I should know what percentage of just detractor reasons I can kind of get rid of. Therefore, how much my NPS will move, and ergo, how much more retention and referral rate I get. And so I can understand suddenly financially what's the best for the customer and where do I put my resources. And the smartest people should always work on the toughest problems. And so that's been a massive unlock for us. And then from an organizational design perspective, we run the business via tribes. I don't want to bore you with too much detail, but to me, this is really important how you organize. And so we have these tribes such as Activate, which is kind of the marketing customer facing side. And effectively, it means that you have developers, you have data scientists, you've got analysts, you've got financial people, you've got marketeers, brand people, all organized around a single kind of customer facing problem. And they ideate and have a backlog of ideas for the next 18 months. And they work through it independently. And then Shaun's and my job is to understand kind of where the opportunity spaces are the biggest and allocate kind of resources across these tribes. And for us to create autonomy and some light governance. And that's been a huge kind of unblock for us. Operating model is not a very sexy topic, but we've seen this as one of the biggest unlocks. And look, we kind of managed to end up being the largest meal kit company in the UK. But equally, we don't want to be the tallest dwarf. Like, you know, our share of stomach is 0.2%. So I don't really care about the meal kit market. The question is, how do we win from the 1 billion meal occasions every single week? That's lunch and dinner times 68 million people times 7 days. So 1 billion meals, 0.2% share of stomach. It's nothing. And so the question really is, what is it that customers fundamentally want? And therefore, how do we kind of organize us and how do we kind of surface this stuff that really has a positive impact? All of you had a challenging 2022. I'm wildly guessing here, but it's been hard, and so I'm really proud how profitable the business is today, how much free cash flow we have to invest outside the UK core. I still think this is day one, and so I fundamentally wanted to take this business and make it as kind of deep for the customer as possible. Today we have 200 recipes on the menu. We have next day delivery. We have soon every single meal customized for the customer. But it is still day one. The job is not done here in the UK market. I think we'll morph into a preventative healthcare company in the next 10 years because food is medicine and what you put into your body massively matters. There are lots of companies doing the front end, the diagnostics, but that's the easy stuff. The hard stuff is really the back end solution. And we put hundreds of millions into these factories that effectively can personalize and customize meals at scale, 80 million Gousto dinners this year. And so for the next 10 years, we'll be massively focused on the health space. Sounds ridiculous today. Give me 10 years and then we'll talk again. But this is why internationalization had to wait, because I fundamentally got excited by how much potential there is in the UK. We have now decided to go international. We launched in Ireland a couple of weeks ago, 8 weeks in. We moved to 2 million or 1 million, I think after 8 days in annualized revenue, which took us a couple of years for core Gousto. Now, obviously the job's not done. The question is how do you get to 10? And I have no idea how we will achieve it, but I've got huge confidence in the team. And we launched on Bento as a platform, and as Dahl pointed out, we built these subscription technologies for 13 years, investing 100 million plus into technology. And at some point we challenged us, thinking that what we're building is actually quite generic, and it makes no sense for core Gousto to build this stuff, because all of you benefit from the same technology. And so we decided to take the huge investment, take it outside of Gousto, put it into Bento, and this way, core Gousto can utilize its finite technology resources to really focus on what matters most for the customer in a very differentiated way. And so core Gousto is now going way faster for the customer. We've launched huge features. And then at the same time, Bento one day will have hundreds and thousands of customers on the Bento platform, meaning they can spend more on subscription technology than any of us here individually could ever do. And so it feels very win-win-win. And you know, we're fairly early on in the journey. Success takes 10 years, or overnight success takes 10 years. But super delighted by what they've done. We just launched in Ireland. It's been on time, on cost, a lot of nail biting on weekends, but extremely grateful to Bento for what they've done and excited to take it to the next couple of markets beyond Ireland. Thank you.
Thank you, Timo. So about Bento, my product, this is my pitch. Are you ready? All right. So what are products we're bringing to market? If you're in the audience and you're thinking, should I be talking to Bento? There are two products. There's one product predominantly that we're bringing to market. We're getting great market demand for it. We had to re-platform Gousto onto it. So this year, for the foreseeable future, we are focused on Bento Box. The box you see on the other side, Wasabi, is our AI magic that will be sprinkled over our core product at some point. So why Bento Box? Why is it differentiated against any of the more established technology partners in the market? Look, subscriptions by and large have derived from a very simple product-based, SKU-based, subscribe and save method. I would like to buy a bag of coffee beans on repeat every 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Maybe give me 10% off. Listen, it's a fantastic subscription model and it's a fantastic place to start. But when you are complex and you are scaling and you actually want to give this personalized experience and you want to drive growth and fantastic customer experience, how do you do that when you are locked into a core technology model that is based on you buying a product on repeat? So Bento's premise, essentially, that is inherited from Gousto, is we start with an empty box. What happens in Gousto? You order a recipe, week in, week out, the contents of the box change, the price changes depending on the number of recipes or portions you put in, and depending on whether you order premium, the price might even go up even more. So Bento's technology platform has started with a foundation that gives you complete flexibility. What you allow your subscribers to put in the box, how much you charge them for it, and what cadence they get it on. And it sounds simple, but it really isn't. And that clear foundation is really allowing companies that want to really think about subscriptions differently to accelerate. Timo's touched on this, the growth flywheel. We're not just a technology business. We're a technology business that has come from a battle-hardened, grinding subscription business. We have learned 101 of what it takes to scale subscriptions and do it well, and our technology stack has that knowledge built into it. So Bento is around all day, come and spin the wheel as well. But if you've got any questions, like, we would love to connect, and I think Timo and Shaun will be around, but let's bring Shaun up on stage to share a little bit about what he did with Bento and Ireland.
Well, hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. So yeah, I'm Shaun. I'm the CPTO or the CTPO. I don't know either, Daljit, it's fine. But I've had the privilege of leading technology, product and data at Gousto for the last 10 years. And I just wanted to spend a little bit of time going a little bit deeper onto a couple of topics that Timo mentioned. One was the obsession with customers, and two was that real focus on retention. In particular, I wanted to talk about how those things have kind of manifested themselves into the technology platform that we've built over the last decade, and how we've then packaged that up into the product that we now call Bento. And then finally, how we've used Bento to actually further fuel our UK growth and then accelerate our international expansion as well. Just a little bit of history first. So Gousto was founded in 2012. And back then, the technology landscape was pretty different. Quite honestly, if we didn't have to build a subscription platform, we would have bought one, and we would have loved to have bought one, but there wasn't one that existed at the time. And we did what many other subscription businesses did back then, and I think many other subscription businesses do right now, is we tried to cram and retrofit subscription business into a traditional transactional e-commerce platform. And like many other subscription businesses, we learned that was really, really hard. It's difficult to extend these platforms. They don't really support the concepts of subscriptions in the complex way that Dal was just describing there. And so we spent 3 years kind of extending, customizing, cramming things in. But 3 years later, we realized that we just weren't making the progress that we wanted. The customer experience, the customer proposition wasn't there. And so we embarked on this journey of starting to build our own. And that's really what we've been doing for the last 10 years. So building a feature-rich platform of features and capabilities that are needed to really scale and grow a subscription platform. So from the basics of kind of pricing and promotions, all the way through to like the absolute essentials of subscription business, like a really well-refined, well-defined refer a friend program. From basic CRM all the way through to kind of machine learning algorithms that we now use to do things like churn prediction and discount optimization and product recommendations, and most recently kind of Gen AI supported product search as well. And bit by bit, feature by feature, we were kind of helping to kind of drive the growth of Gousto. And that growth in those first 10 years was pretty substantial. Most of those years we were kind of doubling revenue every year. And we were using that growth to really then fuel further investment into the technology team, kind of further accelerate that platform development. So we were really kind of starting to spin that flywheel. And so over that time, we kind of grew the team. We started off 3 software engineers in the corner. Timo was packing boxes. We were kind of hacking away on laptops. But over time, we went from 3 people to 300 people across software engineering, across product, and particularly across data science, which is where we saw some really, really big wins. So they're using optimization algorithms, machine learning algorithms to solve problems like all the way across the customer space. And we learned a huge amount along the way about how to build a subscription. And we were like, going back to what Timo said there, we were continually just obsessed with what did the customer need, what was the customer telling us, and really kind of like, as Timo said, kind of praying to the retention god, so to speak, measuring everything through retention. So every feature we built was really centered in deep customer insight, user-centered design, and then using a huge amount of A/B testing to really kind of meticulously test and tune all of those products for a retention-based outcome. We learned a lot along the way about how to build a subscription business. And it was in 2021 that we started to realize, from speaking to other subscription businesses, that actually, they were facing many of the challenges that we were facing a few years back. And actually the technology and the platform that we built, actually it's very useful for us, but maybe it could be kind of useful for others as well. And the initial thought was, well, this is about packaging our technology, right? We take the features, we productize them, we make them generic enough to be used by other customers. But as we sort of went into those early stages of research, as we formed the Bento team, and you start talking to other subscription businesses about their challenges, about what they want to achieve, we realized it was about sort of packaging up much more than just the technology as well. So Timo touched on it earlier. We have a really strong culture of very autonomous, very accountable product development teams. We let them do the ideation through the customer data, and we let them define their solutions. And because we've got baked into the platform very strong experimentation, very strong instrumentation of the data that's coming back on performance, it allows us to build that kind of culture of autonomy and accountability. And actually, like all of that capability is packaged into the platform too. So we can really help people, help other businesses kind of transform their culture. And then finally, the products we've built are kind of shamelessly opinionated, so to speak. What we've learned about running refer a friend programs is really kind of baked into the refer a friend products that we've got. It's the same with churn optimization, churn prediction, discount optimization. All of those things are really personifying kind of what we've learned over the last few years. So we're also kind of helping to bundle the opinion and the knowledge that we've built about scaling subscriptions into the product as well. So before anyone wonders, we're not launching a new Gousto range here. We're not kind of expanding into the dog food space. This will hopefully become apparent in a minute. But when we decided to kind of launch into international, when we decided that we would first of all launch into the Republic of Ireland, we realized quite early on that Bento would play a really important role in that journey. For a number of reasons. The first one is that we decided to run Ireland like a startup. So we formed a very small team. We gave them a huge amount of freedom, and we said, kind of go off and kind of like launch Gousto in Ireland. And we did that for a number of reasons. We did that to protect focus on the UK business, and we also did it for speed. We wanted to make sure that that startup kind of benefited from everything we've learned about technology, about culture, and around scaling subscription businesses. And so, that was perfectly packaged up into the Bento platform. So it was great to hand off to that startup to give them the accelerated start that they needed. We also realized that Gousto would be like a notoriously tough customer for Bento. And some of the Bento team is sitting in the audience, so they know, we care about performance, we care about resilience, we care about kind of driving for features and delivering features as quickly as possible. And so our demands on that team would help them to move forward even quicker. And then finally, and I think really importantly, if we're going to ask other businesses to entrust or other people to entrust their business on the Bento platform, then it was actually really important that we did the same ourselves. So kind of launching Ireland on Bento, well, it was good for Gousto, it was good for Bento, and it was good for Bento's customers as well. And fast forward, another year after we first decided to internationalize, and I'm really proud to say that we're now live in Ireland. We went live on February the 25th, and it's always a good opportunity in front of your boss and lots of other people to say it was 1 month and 3 days early. Not always the case with technology projects, and definitely not always the case of internationalization as well. And Bento played a huge part in that. It really helped us to kind of seed and accelerate what we were doing. And really, I think of it that we managed to package up kind of 10 years of learning about technology, about culture, and about scaling subscription businesses and deploying that into Ireland in less than a year. We're really hoping that when the opportunity comes next to go into that third market, we'll be using Bento again and hopefully can speed up to even more. So thanks very much. I'll hand back to Dal.
Thank you, Shaun. And yes, I can say on behalf of Bento, everything he said is absolutely correct. Gousto are a very demanding customer, but in the best possible way. And thank you for an amazing partnership. Those account manager meetings are very interesting. Who sits on the other side of you as you're kind of negotiating with one another. So listen, thank you very much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed this opening keynote. We have a team right outside. I'll be around all day, and we would love to connect and ideate and share some ideas with you, even if you don't think Bento is the best fit for you or you're not quite ready with it. A lot of us, we work super closely with Gousto, so we've got a lot of the Gousto know-how and knowledge as well. So have a fantastic day, make sure we network, have some great conversations, and hopefully speak to you one-on-one outside. Thank you very much.